The San Diego Padres beat the throw home for a 4-3 walk-off win, completing a 3-game sweep of the league-leading Milwaukee Brewers. The Padres now have won 5 straight and 15 of their last 19 to move into the National League's second wild card spot ahead of the Diamondbacks and Phillies. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Dodgers first baseman Freddie Freeman apparently avoided serious injury last night after tumbling down the stairs into the visitors' dugout while trying to catch a foul ball in the 8th inning. Freeman stayed in the game to finish the top of the frame, but was swapped for a pinch hitter in the bottom of the inning before the Dodgers closed out a 4-2 win over the Kansas City Royals. The 2024 World Series MVP said he didn't hit his head or break any bones, but is sore and not sure what his status will be for LA's upcoming series against the Brewers. We wish Freeman a speedy recovery. The NBA's most valuable franchise is being sold for the second time in a year. The Los Angeles Lakers are reportedly being sold to Josh Kushner and Bob Iger for $12.5 billion, a new record for U.S. pro sports. The businessman had been involved in a possible expansion team for Las Vegas, but pivoted to an offer to buy the Lakers from Mark Walter, who purchased a controlling stake in the team from the Buss family last year for a then record valuation of $10 billion. The sale will still need approval from the NBA's Board of Governors. And after 18 NBA seasons with 7 teams, Russell Westbrook is calling it a career, announcing his retirement yesterday on social media. A 9-time All-Star and 2016 League MVP, Westbrook holds the NBA record for career triple-doubles. He shared his retirement decision in a post that included a video of his career, narrated by actor Michael B. Jordan, writing, quote, "Sometimes you don't even know when you've already watched the end. You had to be there, and now it's over." Time now for the forecast. Let's bring in MSNOW weather reporter Moses Smalls. Moses?
Hey, good morning. Well, we're looking at a pretty uneventful forecast, which is nice as long as you're far enough northeast. It's still going to be a little bit warm for New York City, high of 87, a little bit warmer for the D.C. area. And then in the southeast, expecting extreme heat today, even for parts of the plains. I'm looking over here and I'm seeing highs over 100 degrees for parts of Nebraska. And then we're also going to expect some heavy rain for parts of the Midwest. Let's start off with the rain. Notice how it's starting off in Nebraska, South Dakota early on, moving towards Illinois and Indiana by this afternoon and tonight. So early in the day, those showers are going to be concentrated further west, but then the flash flood risk is going to be higher. This little zone over here, this is excessive rainfall at a 4 out of 5. That means there's a 40% chance anyone that would have lived off is seeing some flash flooding over the next 24 hours. And over all of the parts of the country that are expecting some more rain today, it's really just the Midwestern showers that I'm going to be focusing on for today. And then there's the extreme heat. So you saw the temperatures, but the daytime heat index is another thing. That takes the temperatures into account, but it also includes the humidity to see how that'll all affect your body. And so we're seeing daytime heat indexes today up to 110, 107. Same deal all the way down to Florida. And even for the D.C. area, it is going to be hot. So unfortunately for you guys in the D.C., unfortunately for you guys in D.C., it's going to be another really air, hot temperatures type of day. 90. I'll take that for now.
Humidity is not my friend. MSNOW weather reporter Moses Small, thank you. Still ahead, we'll get to President Trump's latest push to have the Supreme Court weigh in on mail-in voting ahead of the midterms. Way Too Early is coming right back. Welcome back to Way Too Early. It's 5:30 on the East Coast, 2:30 out west. I'm Laura Barron-Lopez in for AliVitali. The Trump administration is once again urging the Supreme Court to intervene and fully implement the president's executive order restricting the use of mail-in ballots ahead of this November's midterm elections. The Justice Department filed a request yesterday asking the justices to put on hold a decision made by a district judge in Boston earlier this week. That ruling blocks the U.S. Postal Service from nationwide enforcement of the executive order's stricter rules for voting by mail. Trump signed the order in March, directing the Homeland Security Department to compile and transmit a list of U.S. citizens eligible to vote in each state and investigate and prosecute state and local officials who issue ballots to people deemed, quote, not eligible to vote in federal elections. It also requires the Postal Service to deliver ballots only to voters on each state's approved mail-in ballot list. The Postal Service recently moved to implement Trump's directive. Joining us now is the director of the ACLU's Voting Rights Project, Sophia Lynn Lincoln. The lawsuit against the president's executive order was filed by multiple voting rights groups, including the ACLU. Sophia, first I want to get your reaction to the district judge's ruling, in which she explicitly said the executive branch has no authority to regulate elections.
Yes, thanks for having me on this morning. The executive order directs the Postal Service to refuse to deliver certain voters' ballots. And we're talking about eligible voters here, people with every right to vote. So earlier this week, a federal court blocked that for every voter everywhere heading into November. The court unequivocally stated that the executive branch has no authority to regulate elections, and it recognized that the order is causing irreparable harm right now. It's creating confusion about the mail ballots for millions of voters who rely upon them. So we are very relieved, we're gratified that the court has stepped in to block this order in advance, just less than 90 days before the elections.
What happens next, since the Supreme Court is considering this?
Well, the Supreme Court is considering an application to block an injunction in an earlier ruling in a different case that was brought by a coalition of states. The decision earlier this week in our case is separate and stands on its own. Again, it protects every eligible voter the Postal Service serves. So this executive order is now blocked twice over. And even if the Supreme Court acts on the state's case, this week's ruling remains in place. So the administration would have to get past both.
Right. The administration has asked them to look at both. They did ask for that to intervene again. But I also want to ask you about the bigger picture here, Sophia, because this isn't the only attempt by the Trump administration to take over elections, to try to see some of that control from states. They've also tried to get a hold of voter data. So when you look at this bigger picture, what impact is it having on states themselves?
Well, absolutely. The president has said publicly and repeatedly that he wants control over elections. And as you've said, he's already taken extreme measures to get that, demanding states' voter data, trying to add a show your papers requirement just to register, and here ordering the Postal Service to refuse to deliver eligible voters' ballots. Every one of those, I should say, has been blocked in court. But the harm is real. At the end of the day, and that is part of the problem. This is chaos by design. Sow confusion, make it difficult for voters to understand what they need to do to cast a ballot that will count, so that there is a narrative in place to undermine election results that they don't like.
Yeah, I've had election clerks tell me that they're having to answer questions about whether or not voters need to bring their passports to the polls with them, given what the president and those around him have been saying. When I also talk to election officials, be it secretaries of state or, again, clerks, they present this one scenario that worries them the most about what could happen come November, which is that the president declares a national emergency, directs, and the FBI is directed to seize ballots, seize tabulation machines. Is that a concern of yours? And what ability do state officials have to stop that from happening?
So it's absolutely a concern, because it's my job to be prepared for all of this and to ensure that voters can be focused on the one job that they have this November, which is to vote and cast their ballot. There are a number of things that we are preparing for, including the possibility that the government, that the Trump administration would weaponize the government against voters in this way, to seize voter data, seize ballots, and the like. There are many things that state election officials, local election clerks, as you said, can do to prepare themselves for this possibility, including understanding the limits of what a federal agency can demand. And of course, there are preparations for all kinds of activity, organizing activity, education activities, as well as possible litigation if anything were to happen.
The director of the ACLU's Voting Rights Project, Sophia Lynn Lincoln, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Still ahead, we'll turn to CNBC for a look at what's driving the day on Wall Street, including the new probe from New York State into prediction market platforms. We're going to explain what's behind the investigation next on Way Too Early.